Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review.
Upon further review,
And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys at the Seattle Seahawks. And this Week 6 matchup will be happening on October 12th at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can catch that on your local Fox affiliates. So these two NFC powerhouses are going at it. And this is right here, this is the real game of the week. In the Midwest and down south, they'll be showing the Bears-Falcons, but everywhere else in the country, they're going to be showing Cowboys and the Seahawks as the late game on Fox. And both these teams combined are 7-2 on the season. They've each just got one loss. The Seahawks have played one less game as they had the bye week. In Dallas, they started off losing at home to the Niners. Otherwise, they would be undefeated. And if they were undefeated, people actually would be giving them the respect that only a very few are. I mean, really, the only guy I've been seeing that's really been giving Dallas their just dessert is probably Michael Irvin. Everybody else is still waiting for the ball to drop or to see, like, are they for real? And that's understandable because, like I said, they did lose to the Niners in Week 1, and then their losses, that was their loss. Their wins, they won 2 games on the road. It's impressive to win on the road. They beat Tennessee and Tennessee, St. Louis and St. Louis, and then they came home to Dallas and they beat New Orleans and they beat Houston. They beat New Orleans by 21 points, and then they beat Houston by just a field goal in overtime. So, of the teams they beat, I mean, you can make the argument they haven't really beat anybody, but at the same time, they did beat the Saints and they did beat the Texans. And I mean, it depends on who you are or who you think the Texans are. I think they're actually a pretty decent team, although people would argue that fact, or if it is a fact. And even St. Louis and Tennessee, hey, they are NFL teams. And actually, St. Louis, they're on the verge. Tennessee, they're only 1-4, but they got some talent. They're not the worst, even though record-wise they're close to it. But we look at the Seahawks. They lost only one game, and that was to the Chargers in Week 2 in San Diego. But otherwise, they won in Week 1 pretty decisively over the Packers in Seattle. And they beat the Broncos in the rematch of Super Bowl 48. That was also in Seattle. That went to overtime, so it wasn't quite the blowout it was back in February. But in September, when they had the rematch, they won by a touchdown in overtime. Then they had the week off. And then they went to Washington, D.C., and on Monday Night Football, they beat the Redskins. They only beat them by 10 points, but 3 touchdowns were nullified for Percy Harvin. You put those 3 touchdowns on the board. I mean, at least 2 anyway, because, 2 of those that were nullified came on back-to-back plays, and then, the third one was on another drive, so either way, they won, and Russell Wilson actually made history as he broke the record for the most rushing yards ever on Monday Night Football for a quarterback. So it's now the new record. Russell Wilson, 122 yards on October 6, 2014, and we got to witness it live. So that was definitely an interesting and exciting game for sure in prime time. And now both of these teams are colliding in Seattle. And I'll tell you, the last time these two teams faced, the Seahawks won. It was Russell Wilson's first victory as a starter, actually, in Seattle. So, and that was back in 2012. So it's been a little while since the Cowboys have come to town. And I'll tell you, I think the Seahawks will win this game. And let's go inside the numbers to see why. So when it comes to passing offense, the Cowboys are 16th in the league. Although to hear some people talk, you would think they were higher. But the Seahawks, though, they're 30th in the league when it comes to passing. And that's a pretty surprising number. But now let's look at their passing defense. And the Cowboys are 18th in the NFL in passing yards allowed. And the Seahawks are 22nd? Surprising as that sounds, they are. Even though it's the Legion of Boom, what's going on? But they're letting up passing yards. But hey, that's how it is, of course. when you look at who they've gone against just in the first 3 weeks, the Seahawks went against Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, and Peyton Manning. So is it any wonder that they actually are 22nd in passing yards allowed? And oh yeah, they actually went up against Kirk Cousins there in week 5, even though he didn't really do much. But he had been putting up some numbers, right? But they put a rest to all the Kirk Cousins talk, though, for sure. But like I said, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, they held him just 16 points, but he got, some yards. And then Phillip Rivers, they lost that game. He put up 30 on them, and he put up some numbers. And then Peyton, of course, is Peyton. He's going to get his yards. But anyway, when we look at the passing attack of these two teams, the numbers say that it's in favor of the Cowboys. You can't really argue with that. Tony Romo got the arm. They got, the big receivers too. Dez Bryant, he is one of the top receivers in the NFL. But now let's look at the rushing attacks of these two teams, and these are the top 2 rushing attacks in the NFL, and that's what's going to really make this a great game. It's going to be some hard-nosed, smash-mouth, old-school Madden football. And the Cowboys are number 2 in the NFL in rushing yards, and the Seahawks are number 1. So DeMarco Murray and Beast Mode Marshawn Lynch, they're going to have their carries, and they're going to be pounding it in the trenches, and it's going to be a sight to behold. But we go and look at the run defense. Here is where things fall apart for the Cowboys. They are 20th in the NFL in run defense, and the Seahawks are number 1. The best run defense, and that is going to be a matchup right there that I can't wait to see. What is DeMarco Murray going to do against the Seahawks? The number 2 rushing offense versus the number 1 rushing defense. Because we all know Beast Mode going to run all over them Cowboys. We know Marshawn's going to get in the end zone in this game. Cowboys can't really stop a runner. They can't really stop a pass either. And that's the thing. You look at that Cowboys defense, 18th against the pass, 20th against the run. Yeah, the Seahawks are letting up yards. But let's look at the points. When it comes to points scored, the Cowboys are impressively putting up the 6th most points on the board this season. The Seahawks are putting up the 5th most. So even though they're 30th when it comes to passing yards, they're 5th in points, period. In the running game, that's the key. And then when it comes to defense and the points against, the Cowboys are 8th and the Seahawks are 9. Could these teams be even more evenly matched? It's even Steven Hushka, right? But I'll tell you, it's like who has the advantage here? I gotta give the edge to the Seahawks. It's kind of like a tie goes to the runner. It's in Seattle. Number 5 scoring offense versus the number 8, defense against the score, and 6 versus 9. I mean, that's as close as it gets right there. But, like I said, the difference has got to be the Cowboys, their shortcomings on defense. Seattle, they haven't been playing defense the way they did last year. But I actually have to say the fact that they put such an onus on stopping the run, that right there actually kind of makes them a more scary defense, if you ask me, because they're going to force teams to pass the ball. And that, secondary Seattle, even though they've been letting up some yards in the season thus far, it's only a matter of time before they start getting those turnovers and getting them picks. So I got to give the edge to Seattle all around, really. The Cowboys do have a chance. They are running the ball exceptionally well, but so is Seattle. And really, it's going to have to be for the Cowboys to win, Romo got to have the game of his career, and he can't make no mistakes. See, the thing with the Seahawks, they might not have a lot of passing yards, but they don't need to. They pound the ball, and Russell picks up yards on the ground. He turns losses into gains just with his feet, and he turns a negative play into at least if it ain't a positive play, at least he getting it back to the line of scrimmage. So the Seahawks, they do what they got to do. They stop teams. They get short fields. They don't need to put up big numbers to get in the end zone and to win games. And it's in Seattle. I just don't see the Cowboys winning in Seattle. Maybe they keep the game close, even though I would not be surprised to see the Seahawks just beat them up bad. This right here could be like a game where the Seahawks just take them out. But then again, I'll tell you, if the Cowboys can win this game right here, people are going to have to start taking them serious. Like for really real serious. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. It could. Anything's possible. Hopefully it'll be a close game, and that's the thing. If it's a close game coming down to the end, do you really trust Tony Romo to lead, a 2-minute drive against that Seattle defense? No, I don't. I do expect to see Sherman or, Earl Thomas get a pick, maybe even Killicam Chancellor. They're still there, even though the numbers might not be, as good as they were last year. It's still early. That's the thing, So, like I said, they're concentrating more on the run, and that to me is a smart thing. And I think Seattle, they're right back there in the thick of things once again. So I think after this game, they'll be 4-1, and the Cowboys will be 4-2. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Share your thoughts and opinions with myself and everyone here, as well as with the whole world, And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit the like button. How else will we know that you like the show if you don't let us know? And if you dislike it, go ahead, hit that dislike button as well. How else will we know? We don't know unless you interact and let us know one way or the other. Give us some positive feedback or give us some constructive criticism. The choice is yours. And if you do like this content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because we bring you upon further reviews and recaps for each and every single NFL game, each and every single week. We also have our weekly show, The Wedge, where we do quick picks, fantasy fortune, fantasy football picks. We do the weekly rewind for the week that was, and we give you the upon further review for the Thursday night game with The Wedge. And we also are covering the baseball playoffs all the way through the World Series, and we're covering the college football playoffs and some selected games leading up till that playoff later on. So keep an eye out for all of that. And thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and a great weekend and enjoy all of the sports.